is going to be the tutorial that's going to show you how to make this cluster beanie. And I have another tutorial that's much older, and I decided I would go ahead and update that video because I got a request from somebody. So this is the updated HD version of the Cluster Stitch Beanie. So for this tutorial, you're going to need a 5mm hook or a size H hook, and you only really need one color. But you can use multiple colors. Like I have this all white all the way to the rim, and then I have the rim one color. But I've also done it where the rim was a different color altogether. I think they look better if you have at least two colors, but it's not necessary. This flower here is from a tutorial of mine called the Petite Little Flower. If you want to check that out, I'm going to put the links and everything for you in the description box, and I'll try to put them on the video for you. So this is the adult size. You've probably seen the picture, and probably on the front of the tutorial I'll use the same one. It's of this same hat, same colors and everything, but it's of the toddler size, the 1 to 3 year old. And you could probably stretch it to a 4-year-old too if they were smaller. For some reason my kids were just a little bit on the big side, so I pushed it to 4 years to adults. But the sizes for this this hat, I have in 0 to 6 months. You'll want to stop increasing after round 2. So only do 2 rounds of increases and then stop. And I'll make sure as the video progresses to let you know when you're done increasing for each size. The next is 6 to 12 months. You want to stop increasing after round 2, and you'll also want to add 1 more row of clusters before you start the rim. From 6 to 12 months, you'll have 36 stitches and 12 clusters. For 1 year to 3 years, you'll stop increasing after round 3. For 1 to 3, you should have 48 stitches and 16 clusters. When I say 16 clusters, I mean all the way around. For 4-year-olds to adults, you'll want to follow the whole pattern and tutorial from start to finish. You'll be increasing all the way until you have 60 stitches, and you'll have 20 clusters all the way around. So go ahead and grab the 4-ply yarn. This is 4-ply yarn, which is regular worsted weight yarn. And you can use a 5mm hook, but if you find that your hat is too small, then you can go up to 1 hook size to a 6mm hook. But most people have told me that this hat fits perfectly. As well as the rim, if you find that it's too big of a rim and you want to decrease it, do a couple of rows of single crochets, and then by the 3rd row you can start decreasing it a little bit every few rows if you want to have a tighter rim to fit around the head. And that's it. So go ahead and grab your 5mm hook and the worsted weight yarn you want to use, and let's get started. Okay, to begin, you want to make a chain of 4, and I like to add a little extra tail here because I will use it to tighten my hole a little bit at the top. So you want to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you want to slip stitch in the beginning stitch to form a ring. And that's to start. For round 1, sorry, I lost my pattern here. For round 1, you want to chain 2. And then you want to work inside this ring here. And you want to work 11 double crochets. The chain 2 for this round will count as a double crochet, and I'm working over my tail so that I can use that tail to close the hole a little bit when I get done. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The yarn I'm using is a little bit bigger ply yarn. It's just easier to see the stitches with bigger yarn, so just for the tutorial purposes I'm using a bigger ply yarn, but please continue to use recommended yarn. So I just want to tell you that because the hat, you may notice, is a bit bigger than yours. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, so I need to get rid of one. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Wait, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I did have 12. Okay, so once you've got your 12, you'll slip stitch in the top of the beginning chain 2. And then you can get your tail here and you can pull it to close that hole up. And then you will chain 2. And the chain 2 from now on will not count as a stitch. This time around I'm going to show you how to make your beginning and end of your rows be invisible. So we're going to begin with chain 2, but we're going to pretend that it doesn't exist as we continue on. So you'll want to do 1 double crochet, and I'm still going to work over my tail if I can, just to keep hiding it. 1 double crochet. Then the next stitch, I should say, I'm sorry, in the same stitch, you're going to do another double crochet. Remember, this chain 2 will not count as a stitch. So you put 2 double crochets in the first, all worked in the same stitch. Then in the next stitch, you're going to put 2 double crochets. And you're going to continue to work 2 double crochets in all the stitches around. And at the end of this round, you'll have 24 stitches. Okay, at the end of row 2, again, you will skip the chain 2 at the beginning, and you want to slip stitch in the first double crochet of the round. For round 3, chain 2. Again, you're ignoring the chain 2. You will not be using it. You'll double crochet 1 in this beginning stitch, and then double crochet 2 in the next stitch. Then double crochet 1 in the next, and then double crochet 2 in the following stitch. And you're going to repeat this pattern, putting 1 double crochet worked in one stitch, and then 2 double crochets worked in the following stitch. So continue that all the way around, and remember, the very last stitch you should be ending in an increase, which is the 2 double crochets in the same stitch is the increase. So the very last stitch should be 2 double crochets. Go ahead and work it all the way around. When you get to the end, you should have 36 stitches. Okay, so I just finished round 3, and again, you're going to skip that chain 2 at the beginning, and you're going to slip stitch in the beginning double crochet. Now, if you're making any of the sizes between 0 to 12 months, you're done increasing. So you need to move on to the end of this tutorial. Well, not the end, but the part of this tutorial where I'll show you how to make the cluster part. Now, for the rest of us, for 1 to 3 years old, you'll continue to increase 1 more round. So again, for round 4, we're going to chain 2 and put 1 double crochet in that first stitch. We're also going to put 1 double crochet in the next stitch. Then we're going to do our increase, which is 2 double crochets. And we're going to repeat that for the round. We're going to be putting 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to put 2 double crochets in the next stitch. And again, one more time, we're going to put 1 double crochet worked in the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to work our increase of 2 double crochets worked in the same stitch. Again, you'll be ending with an increase in the very last stitch, and you should have 48 stitches at the end of this round. Okay, I just made it to the end of my round. Remember, you're going to be ending with an increase, and you're going to slip stitch, and not the beginning chain, but the beginning double crochet. And you should have 48 stitches all the way around. And if you're making size 1 to 3 years old, you're done increasing now, and you can start with the main portion of the hat. If you're making a size 4-year-old to adult, then let's keep going. This is going to be the last round of increasing for this hat. So what you want to do is what we've been doing before, chain 2, and now you're going to work 1 double crochet in that same beginning stitch. Now you want to work 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So there's 1 double crochet, and in the next stitch put 1 double crochet. Now we're going to do our increase of 2 double crochets worked in the same stitch. And then again, you're going to work 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches. So 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, then 1 double crochet. And then we're going to do our increase by working 2 double crochets in that same stitch. So you should be having 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, and then our increase of 2 double crochets worked in the same stitch. Continue this all the way around, and again you'll end with an increase of 2 double crochets, and you count your stitches. You should have 60 stitches. Okay, I'm at the end of round 6, and again you should have the increase, and you'll be skipping the beginning chain 2 and slip stitching in the beginning stitch. Remember, it may look a bit big on screen, but I'm using a bigger ply yarn. So now we're ready to start the cluster part of our tutorial. So to begin our cluster part, what you want to do is chain 1. Let me get just a little closer. Maybe that's too close. Chain 1 and pull up, and then you want to double crochet, an incomplete double crochet in the very first stitch. So you will pull up a loop, yarn over, only pull through 2 of those loops, and then you'll work another one here, yarn over, go into that same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, only pull through 2 of the loops, leaving the last on the hook, and then you're going to repeat that again for the next stitch, yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, only pull through 2 of the loops. You have 4 loops on the hook. Go back into the same stitch again, the next incomplete double crochet, leaving the last loop on the hook. Now you have 5. Now you have 2 incomplete double crochets in this stitch, 2 incomplete double crochets in this stitch. You're going to do that one more time in the next stitch. Yarn over, go in, pull through only 2 loops, yarn over, go into that same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, only pull through 2 of those loops. You should have 7 loops on your hook. Then you'll yarn over and you'll pull through all 7 loops, and then you'll chain 2, 1 and 2. Now for the purposes of this tutorial, because it's also made for beginners, I'm going to do this next one in slow motion. So we're going to be going right into the very next stitch. And that's how you do the cluster. Again, you go start your next cluster right in the next stitch, and you'll be repeating this cluster all the way around, putting 2 incomplete in one stitch, then move and put 2 incomplete in the next stitch, and then in the third put 2 incomplete in the third, pulling through all 7 loops and chaining 2. Remember to always chain 2. So continue to do that all the way around, and I will see you when you get to the end of the round. Okay, at the very end of your clusters, when you've gotten your last cluster and you pulled through all of your loops, the very last cluster of the round, there's no need to chain 2, just chain 1 and then slip stitch in this beginning stitch, which is this long, this is the chain 1 here, and this is where you did your first double crochet. So this is going to be the very first stitch here, and you'll slip stitch in that beginning stitch, and that slip stitch counts as a second chain. It's like that with most things where you have the chain in between. You always want to do one less chain at the end of the row, or round I should say. Usually it only works like that with a round. Okay, so you finished your round of clusters. So now you want to chain 1, and now we're going to be working in these stitches above the cluster. You'll have 3 stitches. There's this first one, there's the one above the cluster, and then there's the one right after the cluster. And then you'll continue it with this next stitch, and then the top of the cluster, and then the big space again. The big space, as you can see, and I always try to explain, like if you have a pretzel usually has 2 small sections at the top of the pretzel and then one big at the bottom of the pretzel. So you'll be doing your single crochet worked in, this is the top of the cluster, and then this is the big space. So you'll always be working in each one of those holes. The very first stitch, very first single crochet will be in this big space here where you did your slip stitch. There's a big stitch there, you want to single crochet. Then you'll find the next stitch, which is the top of the cluster, and do a single crochet. Then you'll do it again in the big space. And then again there's this little stitch here. Do a single crochet there on top of the cluster, and then the big space. Then the little stitch again here before the cluster, then here on the top of the cluster, and then in the big space. So you'll want to continue to single crochet in each of those stitches all the way around, and at the end of this round, whatever stitches you ended here with, so if you increase to 48, you should have 48 stitches here. If you increase to 60, you should have 60 stitches at the end of this round. So just continue to single crochet in all those stitches around, and I'll see you back here in a moment. Okay, then make sure you're gonna single crochet in that very last space, and then you'll slip stitch in the beginning single crochet and not the chain. And that's what it looks like. And you'll be repeating, this is rounds 6 and 7, right? Yes. 6 is the round of clusters, and then 7 is the round of single crochets. So you're going to be repeating these 4 times. Just like this. And it'll be the same for all sizes except for 6 to 12 month old babies tend to have a lot longer heads. So you want to go ahead and work one more extra round of clusters and single crochets, but the rest of the sizes are only going to be 4 rows of the clusters and single crochets. And then you'll be ready for the rim. So I'm going to show you how to do the rim. I'm just going to pretend that I've already done my 4 rows. So this will be my first, so I'll pretend I've done 3 more rows. Unless you're making 6 to 12 months and you'll want to go ahead and do a 5th. And then you'll be here. So for the next 5 rounds, you're just going to chain 1 and do a single crochet worked in each stitch around. Now if you want to not have this beginning where you slip stitch in the beginning stitch and chain 1, which leaves kind of a ridge, what you can do is go ahead and grab a stitch marker. How to grab one. And what you want to do is just place it here where you'll know that this is the first stitch of the round. And what I do is I just go in through 1 stitch and then out the next. Then fold a small piece of yarn in half. And then you grab it and pull it through that stitch in between those stitches like this, but not all the way, just so you have this loop on this side. And then get these tails and pull it right through that loop you just created. And then you can pull those tails to tighten that loop. And then it'll stay there. And you know that every time you get to this stitch here, which I didn't mark it right, I should be marking it here. So whenever you get back to your marker, you know that this is your first stitch, and then you just go right into the top of this stitch. Instead of slip stitching into it, just work a single crochet in that one instead. And then go around, and then you can mark. Remember that you did 1 row of single crochets here, so when you get done you'll have a total of 6 single crochet rows. And then I will show you how to finish the hat. Okay, I want to go ahead and I'm going to pretend I did my 5 rows of single crochets, and I'm going to show you how to do this very last round. And I do this in a different color, or you can do all your single crochets in a different color and then the very last row in a different color, or the whole thing in the same color. It's up to you. It's your hat. So if you want to switch colors now, this is the time. And then what you want to do is single crochet in this first stitch, chain 1, then single crochet again in the same stitch and chain 1. So you single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1 in the same stitch. Then you'll skip the next stitch, and in the following stitch you'll work the same thing. You'll do a single crochet, chain 1, then go back into that same stitch and do a single crochet, chain 1. And then you'll skip the next stitch, and in the following stitch you'll repeat single crochet, chain 1, go back in that same stitch, single crochet, chain 1. Then you'll skip a stitch and work in the next stitch, and you'll want to do that all the way around. And then just slip stitch here in the beginning single crochet to finish the round. And that is it. That is how you make the cluster beanie. I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I'm going to make sure I put the links to the flower underneath and the links to the pattern and everything. And that way you can make all the sizes that you need. So that's it. Please don't forget to like me on Facebook. If you haven't, I share lots of free patterns there, not just my own, so it's a great pattern source for you. Also, if you haven't yet, please take a moment to subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching and sharing my videos. It helps me so much. Thank you so much for watching.